Hello and welcome to Meet the Heroes. In this edition of the show, we're here with Grant Kemp, data and analytics geek at Inviqa, which is an e-commerce agency out in London. How's it going, Grant?
Hey, how you doing? You all right? Thanks so much for
Yes.
having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were chatting. We started chatting on Twitter about, Facebook ads and stuff, and you've done a lot with that. And we were kind of messing around, chatting a little bit, and you were showing me some of the stuff you do in Google Analytics, and I just thought, I think a lot of people underutilize Google Analytics. I'm probably just as bad as any merchant, and so there's a lot of basics that people aren't doing, but then you get real deep into a lot of stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to just go through that and geek out a little bit on some analytics stuff.
Can I quote you now? It's officially recorded. You said we're going to have fun with Google Analytics.
We did.
You said that. I did. You said that. That's not me.
That's my words.
And
yeah.
I can't think of anything more fun to do. At the end of the day, after working really hard, let's do some data to really jazz things up.
I love it. I love it.
My favorite is like when customers say, yeah, let's do training, but let's do it either at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. If there's one really good piece of advice that I can give to everyone out there, do not do analytics training at the end of the day. Okay, it is phenomenal at being able to put you to sleep. I've got these analytics books, which I promise you now, I can read to my kid. It'll have him asleep like this in 2 minutes.
Now,
it's really
right. Do you read analytics books? How old are your kids?
I got one 4-year-old and one 2-year-old, and if you ever want to have some management training, just try look after kids.
Right.
For an afternoon will be enough, because you realize how completely out of control everything is. And I think once you kind of accept that, it's kind of like, well, let's see what we can do.
Yeah. So 4 and 2, that's just the right age to start getting them into analytics.
I'm going to keep them very far away. I've got a wonderful experience that my wife is a nurse, and she was like the school sports captain. So literally everyone used to be like, yeah, you're on my team. Come. I was directly the opposite. Literally, people used to want me on the other people's team because they knew I was that bad. So I'm delighted to say that my kids are actually really cool in that they like being outside the whole time. So I can't even get them to look at a computer.
There you go. There you go.
They won't even watch Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, oh, wow. Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm hoping I can kind of work that a bit later on.
Yeah, you'll work it in. So you work with a lot of your clients at Inviqa on what do you help clients with? I mean, how would you describe what you do, helping them to, understand their customers better, obviously GA is a tool, there's a bunch of different tools, but broadly speaking, how do you work with merchants?
It's really, do you know what I think would probably be a really good way to explain this is that when people see analytics, they assume that people just understand analytics. Effectively, analytics is a way of learning about businesses. And it's a learning about not only business, but about the business's customers. And essentially what I've found is that I've started learning so much about my customers, visitors, and their customers, that they basically are, I'm trying to think what the best way to describe it is, but effectively every single one is a different kind of learning exercise. And sometimes I can pick up things that I've been like, yeah, this is really interesting and this really helps. But the biggest thing is that every single customer is a new journey. And I approach it with that way. I say, hey guys, we've learned a little bit of stuff. I can help you guys to learn. And actually it's about a joint learning exercise. Every single time you start something, we say, let's learn together what the best ways are to do things. And if we're not sure, let's find out. And I think that's probably the best way to describe analytics is it's good customer services. It's helping you to understand what makes your business tick. And it helps you to kind of learn new things all the time. It's essentially a free learning tool.
Right. What would you say are, and I don't know what, types of merchant, obviously you've got, merchants all the way down from community up to large enterprise, and I'm sure you're somewhere along that scale, but what do you think are some of the biggest things that, you tend, I'm sure it's unique, like you said, it's unique for each one, but what are some of the patterns you're seeing right now with things that, insights customers or clients are gaining as they're digging into analytics?
I think the best example is that I find that every customer is completely different in what their expectation is. And every customer learns at a different rate. But the biggest takeaway, and I think this is the thing, is that I find that customers aren't using the data that they have already. I mean, Magento is awesome in terms of the stuff that it has there. There's so much there that you can pick out and use straight away to not just make a little bit of difference, but to make like a massive difference. Right. I remember when we chatted before, I said, have you, did you know that Magento does out of the box? I'm talking about like 0 code changes. There's no code change at all. You can do A/B testing.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know that.
Well, the thing is, they hide it so well.
Right.
I put together just some slides that I've used at like other meetups and things like that I thought it might be really worthwhile to show you guys, because there are so many things in there. If I say to customers, the biggest takeaway is start using what you have.
Right.
And in fact, you know what? Would it be okay? Can I jump onto
Let's jump in.
The slides?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think that would actually be the easiest way to kind of show a little bit about some of these sort of challenges. I picked up on one of my favorite things is when I show a customer something new about their business, and it could be like something they didn't realize they could do, something they didn't realize that they had. And this is all out of the box that comes into it. So let me just jump in. This is a previous slide deck, so I'll jump through the sort of slides quite quickly. This is actually one of my favorite things, which is the price of light is less than the cost of darkness. It's a great quote by Arthur C. Nielsen. And he basically says that it's all about unknowns. And if you don't go out and find that information, it's going to be a lot more expensive than it is going to be about finding that information. And I think that's probably cool. The biggest thing.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
That's just a little bit of what I do. Let me see if I can, actually, I'm going to just skip to the actual relevant slide. Oh, sorry, I should probably say that those are some of the customers we work with. So we've got like Misguided, Fashion House, we've got Grays, BBC, Virgin, Feel Unique. Dreams is a fantastic company. If you guys have a look at some of the stuff they're doing on their website, they're doing some really cutting edge stuff. If you look on, you can look on the website, and there's probably loads of things on there. I'll go through just some of these things quickly.
You guys work with some really impressive clients.
The brilliant thing is that every single customer has a different way of approaching this, and we've kind of like, we can't standardize things, because how do you standardize completely different businesses?
Totally.
I'll go around here, because I think this is probably the right place. The biggest takeaway that I have is, if you think about it, when on a typical e-commerce website, you will have a stadium of people visiting your website. That's really what you're asking for when you're asking for people to do analytics.
Wow. Yeah.
You're saying, you know, how can I make more money from those? What would you do to make more money from all those people? That's sometimes the number of people who are visiting every hour. In some cases, every minute. You know, when you're doing Black Friday, that could be sometimes every half a minute. It's literally, it gets up to such staggering scales.
You know, I saw something today. Somebody said something to the effect of, you know, if you're in a grocery store and there's a huge line and people are waiting and people are dissatisfied and they're leaving and they're not buying, you would see that and fix it immediately. But with web traffic, that happens all day, every day, but you don't really see it. It goes back to what you're saying. You don't really see it. It's there, but you don't see it. Like if you had a stadium full of people and they're mostly not doing what you want to do, like you'd be like, holy cow, you know, so it's a great visualization.
I've got a really cool story that I was working with one of our customers, and I'm actually just, let me turn this off quickly just while I share this, because I don't want to get distracted by it. We had one customer where I said to them, I said, we use something called session recording. Do you know what session recording is?
Yeah, like tracking mouse clicks and stuff like that.
So we've got a rule about not being like scary with analytics. That's one of the rules that we're doing. You know, we look after privacy, and we make sure we're not scary. Now, session recording is a little bit on the scary side, because effectively you're seeing customers' behavior sort of like as though you're with their computer. You can see the mouse moving around. You can see what they're doing. And with one customer, we noticed that there was a problem with their checkout. And there were certain devices that weren't able to complete. they couldn't see that. Believe it or not, it was Internet Explorer, one of the banes of all internet developers.
Right.
And we said to them, we said, can we show you an example? And we set up the tracking so that it would trigger every time a person went on to checkout with this browser in it. And it just happened that one of the sessions we recorded that we were showing it to the customer, they were going to check out for the equivalent of £300.
Right.
This is a store that used to do maybe £50 or £60 an order on a lucky day.
Right.
Her reaction was, can we get this person's email? I need to call them right now.
Right. Walk over to their office and right.
Exactly. Like beg, like, hey, you know, we were really bad. What's going on? And I said, well, can't, first of all, because these tools are really good about privacy and they block out email addresses and things like that. But she was so panicked, and I said, well, just think about it. You've had probably close to 300 people over the last month in the exact same position.
Right. Right.
And as soon as you see that, and she's got such a good idea about it's no longer analytics, it isn't a number anymore. It's now, hey, it's a person, you know, and that's the thing is every single one of those clicks, it's a person doing an action, a person who's effectively in your shop saying, hey, I want to buy something. I'm really interested in what you guys are doing. I could be doing anything else, but I'm here with you right now because this is where I want, this is what I want. Totally. So you actually have to do a really hard job to get rid of them.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's like going back to the grocery store thing. Somebody has $300 they're about to spend. They can't use the cash register, so they walk out the door. You know, the store manager would chase them down the street, you know, to try and figure it out.
So exactly that. And I think that the best way to do it is to actually treat your analytics as your customer services, as I said before. I actually call this, one of my sessions, I said, you should use this analytics magic. And the best kind of advice that I can give to people is when you measure your analytics, don't measure analytics about a website. Yeah, all businesses are data businesses. Yeah, whether you go all the way to the finance and accounting, they're very good data users, or you go to the operations or to the MD, they're interested in the data. So you've got to make sure that data is being used by everyone. So if you find ways to measure your business, you know, if it's like a web store that's taking orders, what about all the other stuff that happens? What about the warehouse? What about the returns? What about the refunds? You could be sending people millions of orders for a particular product that just goes back the next day.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point?
Totally.
The other bit as well is that when you check your analytics, you should clean it. You know, is the data actually accurate? Are you busy saying we should definitely be doing this off the back of data that is probably not accurate, maybe even double counting,
right?
You know, maybe in some cases skipping out whole pages in the journey. Is that what you should be doing? You should probably be checking it. What was the other really cool thing that I saw? We had one customer that they were so convinced about the information, and I said, well, how do you know what you're doing is right? And he showed me a pie chart.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And it's basically like returning versus new customers. And I was like, oh, okay. Because yeah, if we get more returning customers, we'll make more money.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, that's good. You know, right. How would you do that?
Agreed.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, that's a really good question. And I was like, yeah. Effectively, whenever you're looking at analytics, you've got to make sure that the stuff is usable.
Totally.
You've got to make sure it's actionable. You've got to make sure that as a result of doing this work to find this information, we can make changes to it.
Right.
And we can make changes. We can try new things. So there's so many things that come around to it. You know, make sure the data is accessible. Make sure it's accessible. Sorry, it's accessible. Make sure it's actionable. I mean, everyone in the business should be using their data.
Totally.
And then the last bit, which is, this is the other thing I get customers to do, is I say to them, when was the last time you did a test? So I'll try this with you. When was the last time you did a test on your website?
Ooh, trying to think. Like I haven't done any A/B testing recently. See, I told you I'm just as bad as any merchant.
Well, my favorite thing is, when was the last time you shipped a feature?
Oh, this morning. I ship
Okay,
features constantly.
of course you did. And did you test that feature before it went out?
Yes. I mean, I tested it myself. I didn't split test it though.
No, but
Right.
effectively, you're the same way that all businesses are. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Every single business tests the code to make sure it works.
Right.
Make sure that it looks good.
Right. Right. I see where you're going with this. Yep.
But why don't you just test if it's actually going to work?
Yep.
And that's probably my favorite thing is when customers start saying, well, once you start giving them access to the analytics, once you start giving them the data in the right format, it's clean, it's accessible, they can use it across the business.
Right.
The whole discussion changes from, hey, let's do this because I kind of think this is the right idea, to why don't we try this? Hey, could we try this? Yeah, let's try this. And it becomes actually a collaboration and a discussion.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That when you see that, that's magic. That's literally magic. And that makes every single thing that I do completely worth it just for those sort of moments.
That's great. And it's almost a culture shift where instead of let's decide on this or decide on that, it's let's try this, let's try that, let's test this, let's test that. And by the way, I didn't mean to derail you from the slides. I'd love to get into that and get into some of the juicy details. But
I actually think I'll park the slides because what I'd rather do is actually I'll talk about I'll actually show you on live analytics some of the stuff that is so cool and what really makes me excited. Because I think that's probably will be better. I mean, presentations, people can see me talk in a few places, but I prefer to actually let's show you stuff.
I love it.
If there's questions that come up, I just shout them out, and we can deep dive into it. I had like these other slides where I blocked out things, but you know what? Let's show stuff, and if it gets like kind of in a place where it becomes really like, oh, this is becoming a bit hard work, then we'll jump off and we'll start talking about other stuff, like some of the cool stuff that Magento does.
Yeah. So, no. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So let me show you this wonderful store over here, which I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you make that out okay?
I'm not seeing the screen share yet. I'm still seeing.
It really helps if I push share screen.
It really is a helpful button, that one in particular. There we go.
So can you see this wonderful, beautiful curve?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So this is actually a new addition that Google finally released. I think it was like 6 months ago now, where I had to kind of create like fake accounts all the time whenever I wanted to show people what you could do with Google Analytics. And Google said to this great idea, say, hey, why don't we release our own data and let you play with Google's data, and we'll also set up the account properly so you know what good looks like.
This is Google's actual data?
This is Google's merchandise store.
Google merchandise store. Wow.
And they said, we want you guys to use this. And
That's
you can see how well it's done. Off the record, they haven't implemented everything.
We are on the record, technically speaking.
Oh, yeah, we are. So, okay. I've suggested ways that they can fix it, but we'll cover it. And actually, the irony is that Magento's implementation is actually better than this. We won't go into that just yet.
Great.
But effectively, this is the scary thing that people see, and it's like, oh, it's lots of bar graphs and things like that. This is something that is so useful, and the best record skill I can recommend is use some of Google's free training. They've got loads of training courses, and you don't have to be an expert in it. You just need to be able to use it a little bit.
Totally. Now, this is the users. This is just the users screen. Daily actives, or
this is number of users. They've got sessions, which basically is the number of visits.
Yep.
It's actually a lot better because it used to be visits and visitors. So you can imagine if you used the wrong thing in your report, how much fun it was.
Right.
And they're doing quite nicely. They've got, this is in a week. Let's zoom out to a month so that we can kind of actually never use today's date because that's only partway through. Let's go into, this is the data that they're going to share. So in a month, they're doing, not bad Google, you're doing like 58,000 users. 316,000 page views. And the nice thing as well is that on the left-hand side, you can see where the customers are coming from. So on the left-hand side, you've got your audience, your acquisition, where they're coming from, and we can see where's the big channels. Oh, guess what? Google is pretty good at search. That's a big channel for them. Who'd have thought that?
Not that they'd ever incentivize their own properties or anything like that. We know they would never do that.
But actually, if you look at those numbers, customers who do organic really well, who do search marketing really well, that's actually a pretty good place for it to be.
Roughly 50%.
It's a good place. There's other channels that they probably should be using, but effectively it's free visited. That's really what organic is.
Right.
Yeah. If you do your SEO and you do your content really well and you build the right product, then Google will send more traffic to you because it likes to send people to places that they like.
Right.
So that's a really good point. They've got direct, so people coming straight to the site, like bookmarks, referrals. That means other websites that are being sent to it, that are sending traffic to it. Some social is always good, and then they've got some paid search. So actually, Google is doing a little bit of paid search, which is interesting. I think they'd be doing a little bit more, but clearly they don't want to go too crazy on it, and they're doing a little bit of affiliates. So really, quite a good mix there, and you can see where people are coming in from. The next tab down there is the behavior on the website. So that's actually, once they get onto the website, are they doing the stuff we want them to be doing?
Yep.
And you can see what pages they're going into. The thing that's really nice is that all these pages are really well labeled. And you see how clean the data is. You know exactly what the page is just from looking at the page name. Yeah, you can see that it's going to home, basket. Yeah, sure. It's just, it makes sure that it's nice and easy to read. They're using some other crazy stuff over here, which I won't go into today because it'll just make everyone go cross-eyed.
Well, and by the way, I know you're taking it easy on me, but since we're calling this advanced analytics, you can get a little you can go deep. You can go a little deep if you want to.
I'm actually going deep in the place where it matters, which is the conversion stuff, because that's actually really cool. This other stuff I think will just distract everyone from what is amazing. So let's go down to there's the pages that are coming in, and you can see all that stuff. Then we finally get to this place, which I'm really surprised that most customers don't do the simple things like set up their goals. What's the point of the website? Why is it there? What's the point of it? Set up a goal,
right?
And that'll make you so much more money because you can see immediately if you guys are achieving what you want to be achieving.
Right. And we were talking a little bit about micro goals and that kind of a thing, and I'm sure you'll give an overview here, but it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on they'll have some examples, but for Magento merchants as well, what are the types of goals that you generally like to see?
Sure. Let me open up the merchandise store because I think it's actually easier to see, assuming it's working.
This is blowing my mind that this is the first I learned that they actually give access to their. Does it even like the real-time data? Is that will you see yourself in the real time? Is it
well, there's probably going to be too many people on at the same time.
Right.
But you can see there's the real time. Ways is sending them traffic, social coming in from there.
That's really neat.
Isn't it great?
It's amazing.
And you can see what countries. Hopefully there's UK in there somewhere. A little bit of UK. There's 2 active users. Oh, what's happened to the lights over here? Then we've got some other ones over here. Let's see what else we've got. Let's go to traffic sources. And you can see direct. Waze is obviously doing some good stuff. Content, what the most popular content is. Events, it's all the real-time data. And you can play with it and use it. And you can see they're using enhanced e-commerce, which is my favorite thing of all time. And even if they're making sales. So here we go. This conversion, someone's entered checkout, someone's done a registration. So this screen's actually really interesting. So when a customer comes onto our website, so when I'm first visiting this website, I'm not actually engaged with the brand at all. I have no idea if it's something that's worthwhile, and I'm kind of just browsing around. It's the website's job to try and turn me initially into a customer and to start the relationship going. And then after that, it's job to then encourage me to buy again, and maybe even to recommend other people as well.
Right.
That's generally speaking the same process for most Magento stores. You want to kind of have a little bit of brand stuff, a little bit of store, a little bit of referral, a little bit of encouragement to do maybe some loyalty. So a conversion event is something where the relationship between the user and the site changes in a way that helps them to achieve their goals. It's really that simple. So if I suddenly have bought this really awful T-shirt, there must be some better stuff in there. Electronics, there must be some good audio stuff. There we go. Who doesn't want a micro wireless earbud?
That's what I was asking myself this morning.
Who doesn't want one of those? So I'm saying, yeah, that's definitely, I want to drop $39 on one of those, and this is going to be for me. So suddenly my relationship with this website has changed, and also with the brand. I'm now a customer. So there's certain things that will happen before I become a customer. So when I become a customer, that's called a conversion. I've been converted from being a visitor into being a customer.
Right.
But there's certain things that happen on the path to that. Maybe I'm viewing the product. That's already a sign, hey, Grant maybe is interested in buying this sort of stuff. There's a very likely chance that he may convert and become a customer. And those sort of single events, those mini signals, we call them micro conversions.
Right.
So it could be something as simple as viewing a product. Some people say because people view so many products, it might be signing up for a newsletter. Anything where you make the relationship with the customer change a little bit, where you've got an idea that they maybe are likely to buy it.
Right.
For one of our customers, they actually aren't interested in people who just view the product. They want people who view the product and then click on multiple images. They say, yeah, if someone does that,
that's great.
That's a lot better than, with another one of our customers, it could be someone who comes onto a page. So we also do publishers and scrolls down beyond a certain point.
Totally.
Because the relationship has changed between someone who's that they're no longer someone who's just kind of like, don't really care that much. It's now like, hey, this is something, and we could potentially, go on a date if it was. The big saying that you find things that really identify with you.
Yep.
And that's what So I'm building a relationship right now with Google through the products that they're offering, and that's what it is. It's a discussion and a thing. I'm like, oh no, this doesn't look very good. Oh no, this isn't right. This isn't for me. But then there's other things that are for me. At the same time, I can leave at any time that I want to.
Right.
So it's up to their job to make sure that I stay on the site as long as possible.
Sure.
So I think that gives you a broad idea that conversion happens when there's usually a money exchange or some sort of a change in relationship, and a micro conversion could literally be someone's either clicked and scrolled, or done signed up to a newsletter, or done something to signal that they are likely to change that relationship at some stage.
And now, do you generally, for micro conversion type things, are you tracking those as conversions or events, or both?
So what you're talking about there is something which is a little bit different. That's the actual implementation for how it happens. Okay. Generally speaking, whenever there's an event, whenever there's a micro conversion, Google can track it as an event. So at the moment, if we go into Google's pages, they're tracking a few things as events. Let's see what they're tracking. They're tracking at the moment their top events. So they're doing enhanced e-commerce. So that's all the events like adding to cart, quick viewing a cart, clicking on a promotion. That's what Google says, yeah, that's probably a good thing for us. Yep. And they've also got someone who's contacting them. So that's Google's definition for, okay, if someone's clicked on the contact button, that's something that is probably important, that they are likely to either, and there you go, they even break it out by phone or email.
Yeah, yeah.
So these events are completely bespoke to every website. You can set them up to be pretty much anything. It can be something as little as a click on the logo, or it could be playing a video. It could be clicking through 3 different elements. Because they're all built in JavaScript, you can make them whatever you want to.
Sure.
The starting point, I'd say, if you're a Magento user or you're an e-commerce store, is definitely a contact us would be a good example. Social shares, I don't think is actually a really good signal, because it is so prone to kind of being faked. But clicking on signing up to a newsletter, yeah, definitely. That's something. Or people sharing a, like adding a comment in or something like that. Anything like that, that's a deeper engagement than just browsing around. That indicates that the relationship is working, and you should try and encourage that.
Right.
And within Google, within GA, you can actually make an event into a goal.
Got it.
So is that going to blow your mind a little bit? So I can actually set the email. I want people to email me. That could be a goal, and then I can optimize the entire site about getting people to email me, and actually doing all that sort of thing around that. So events is actually a really powerful way, and it's something that goes into every one of the reports. But you can set up events for other things as well. So you can set up events for negative conversions.
Okay.
If you have a JavaScript error on your web page, is that a good experience for a customer?
Oh, so you track those and then troubleshoot them.
Of course, you've got information that's available.
Now,
should use that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'd imagine, wouldn't you want to send that over to your bug track or your like maybe you have an exception logging app, but maybe you do both. So you send them to your exception logging app for your dev team, and then you track in Google Analytics so that marketing can see how those errors are affecting customers.
Well, you put it as a really interesting point there. Traditionally, JavaScript errors and other errors, they get logged straight into a log file somewhere, or if you're sophisticated enough to have a like a bug tracking or exception logging system, then you're really advanced. That's a really good idea.
Right.
But what you don't have is the context. Is it important for you to fix that? Is it important for you to fix that right now? So if you know you're getting loads of bugs, is it important that they get fixed? If people are still able to buy, is it a problem?
Right. If it's affecting a really small amount of traffic, or is it in the conversion path? All these types of things.
Exactly, and it could be that the error is happening to a lot of customers, but it could be maybe a piece of content that's not showing that actually people don't even know is there, so they carry on.
Right.
So it's always good to have this information available in the right places. But the nice thing is that by having it in Google, your entire team can see it and can make a call about it.
Yeah.
Google's about building a sort of a central source of truth. And you can not only track that, you can track any kind of event. You could track a refund, you could track a call center interaction, you could track it doesn't just have to be about the website. Right. Totally. So that's the fun thing, is that you can find what we call negative opportunities, and if you can make those go away, brilliant. I mean, how many times have you worked with an API and there's been some sort of an API exception?
Yeah, every single time.
I found out. Do you know that there's an HTTP status code called teapot error?
Say it again. T what?
Do you know what a teapot is?
Teapot? No. I mean a physical teapot. Yeah, but.
So there's an error that can come out from the system. It was designed for coffee machines, and effectively it allows you to send a status code saying there's a teapot error, and that's actually officially part of the standard. But all these sort of things you don't find from just putting one place. If they get logged and they get hidden away, you're building up silos. Marketing needs to speak to someone in IT. IT needs to speak to someone at your developer. And eventually you get the information. Why not just have it all immediately in one place so that your marketing person can call down and say, hey guys, it looks like there's a problem with one of our APIs. Can you guys check?
Yep.
How scary would that be, that a marketing person tells an IT person that there's an API error?
There's an API error, yeah, exactly. And they tell them the HTTP response code too.
But can you imagine that? They'll be like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
And effectively, because of these silos, that's where the biggest hindrance to businesses doing really well is. When we start putting analytics in, I noticed that our developers started using it in the teams, customers started using it. My favorite situation was we had a third-party SEO agency that reported that there was a problem. Basically, the customer's payment provider had a problem. So the SEO guy reported that problem before the payment provider even realized.
Amazing.
As soon as you've got as many people looking at it, then it's more chances you'll catch stuff like that.
Yep. When your SEO guy is starting to do some troubleshooting on the dev side for you, your silos are broken down.
Well, he was looking at it and he was saying, well, why is my organic not converting as well as it should do?
Mm-hmm.
And then he looked at it and he was like, oh, this is where the problem is. So essentially, as long as you've got people who are responsible for different kinds of metrics working with the same data, it can come from any source. And obviously that was a really big win for the customer.
Yeah. Now on the and I don't know, some of these questions may be a little more on the dev side, but as I'm thinking through it, I'm just wondering, in terms of the implementation details, if you had something like that, a payment method that was failing, let's say it wasn't a JavaScript error, but it was server side. Are you surfacing up your server side errors into Google Analytics as well? I know might be a little bit in the weeds.
So that is actually, and potentially that's the biggest opportunity for GA. People just assume that Google Analytics is a little snippet that sits in the corner of the screen.
Right.
That's it, isn't it? It's just a JavaScript snippet. Google's got this thing called measurement protocol, which is one of the most amazing APIs. Effectively, you can log everything from a coffee machine, a backend server, an API. I've actually on my blog, I've got a library that we released open source that lets you have every time you do a deployment, it'll log your GitHub tickets and it'll log your Jira tickets and your GitHub releases straight into GA. And that's an open source library.
That's cool.
Because effectively, the more information you could put in, the better the information is that you can then use to make your decisions.
Right. Wow, that's really. So, I can't even imagine how that. Where does that data sit in if you're logging a deployment? Where does where does that show up? Is it in behavior, conversion, events, or?
It's an event.
Okay.
Yeah. If you think about it, it's an event. Remember, I said to you, measure the business, not the website.
Right.
Yeah. If you're having releases that are failing a lot,
right,
is that something you should probably fix?
Right.
At the moment, that doesn't really sit everywhere. It sits somewhere, but not where it's available.
Right. But how does that, like, the way I think of GA is every time an event or a page view happens, whatever's happening is associated to a user session, which is generally like a visitor. So if I, as a developer, I know we're kind of going in the weeds on this, but if I, as a developer, log a failed deployment, am I the visitor in that case, associated to that event, or?
I could see the cogs are turning, the brain's going, what's going on, Grant? You're blowing my mind.
Yeah. You're breaking my model for how.
Well, first of all, if you do use that sort of an implementation, don't mix it in with your actually, you could probably mix it in with your GA, your main live account, but it just means that your visitor count will be inflated. Because, yeah, it does treat it as an individual user. Okay. You can also, like when I do it, I actually give, you can play around with the user agent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So my user agent is Grant's awesome release tracker.
Gotcha.
So if I need to find it, I can find it based on that. But effectively, what you can do is it's a visitor onto your website that's doing a micro conversion, and it's passing in a set of information that is giving you information about your release. In fact, I think I can probably, let me see if I can find that blog post connected. This is my blog that I'd love to spend more time updating. I just don't really get a chance to.
Right.
But here we go. So, and this has got an open source. I'll tweet the link out afterwards. But when I showed this to like a load of analytics geeks, everyone was like, "This is awesome." Effectively, you can see deployments. It's using measurement protocol, so you can read up about that, which is probably the best technology that Google has ever released. I'm not exaggerating, better than search, at least for me anyway.
That's a bit of a statement. not the best technology that Google Analytics has ever released, but that Google has
Best
released.
that Google has released,
Okay.
because effectively you've got an entire machine learning library built by some of the best guys in the business, available for free. It's
cool.
literally, it's out of the box. You can have it, and you don't have to pay for it. So I was like, I don't see what the downside is. So there you go. There's some deployments to staging that are going on. Here's my GitHub data going into it.
Are you sharing your screen right now? Or are you just...
Oh, that's a really good point. I should probably share my screen.
I mean, you don't have to. You just sounded
No,
like
no, it's cool. It's cool. So this is my blog, and you can see here immediately. We've got this is my wonderful high. You can see I hired a designer to do my sketch over there for how it's put together.
A very expensive designer.
Cost a lot of money. And you can see here. Here's my events. There's my deployments. There's an error that we found. There's a success. And you can see it was built with one of our guys, Steve Richardson, who's an absolute geek. He's awesome. So I think you probably know him anyway. This is deployments to staging. Here we go. We can see GitHub tickets going in. Jira tickets, yeah, that's fine as well. And the way that you can customize Google is they've got something called custom dimensions. So I hope we're not losing everyone here. But you see the actual the title. I don't know if you can see that very well. The title of that column is actually Jira tickets.
Oh, got it. Got it.
So you can actually customize it in an absolutely huge way. And it was around 1,800 when I did this blog post. I think it's on like 6,000 now, and it's really good. And effectively, it's a Ghost Inspector plugin, and you can see it on GitHub as well. It's I'll tweet the link afterwards. But
did you build
effectively,
that?
It's open source. Yeah, me and Steve built it. Well, Steve did the hard work. I just kind of said, that stuff you're doing, can we stick GA and Jira into it? He was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And I showed him how to use Measurement Protocol. And the rest is like, well, if I can do that, let's do this. And the rest of it came out, and it's a phenomenal bit of tech. And again, completely free. There you go. It's Rich Dynamics, Capistrano Ghost Inspector.
Nice. Beautiful.
There you go. Track Jira's, tickets, custom dimensions. It's a really awesome thing, and it helps you to use GA beyond just what you have out of the box.
See, I wasn't kidding when I said we were going to get advanced. At first you were taking it easy on us and describing the basics of what a user is and what a page view is. But as you can see, we've gotten into it.
We can do other stuff as well if you want to go really
crazy.
No.
We're good on time. If you want to jump into some other stuff, that'd be awesome.
What I'd like to show is probably my favorite feature, which is this enhanced e-commerce plugin. And again, this comes built in with Magento Enterprise, Magento 2 Enterprise, and Magento 1 Enterprise. And otherwise, there's loads of plugins that let people to use it. There's even a couple that are open source. My dream would be that there is one really awesome open source plugin that just does everything out the box, because then the community people can use it, enterprise people can use it as well, and it just really works well, and people can then use it to iterate on. I'll give you quickly this demo that you can see here. This is Google's doing all right. They're making enough money from their merchandise store. I'm sure you can see how much dosh they made.
Yep, 410 grand. And for those that are following by audio here, in the past 30 days, it's not bad at all.
I think that's roughly the same that your website does in like a day, isn't it? So Google's got some catching up to do.
Yeah, they're close.
We can see over here.
Nipping at my heels. Yep, 3% e-commerce conversion rate.
That's not bad. Just for those people who don't know what conversion rate is, it means the number of people who have come onto the website as a percentage of the overall audience who have bought something. To make it really simple, if I have 100 people that come onto my website and my conversion rate is 3%, that means that 3 people bought stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Totally. And so what do you know, a lot of people throw around conversion rate. When you're looking, we've talked about how these things are nuanced and unique. When you look at a new merchant, what's like the conversion rate metric you look at? Do you look at the overall? Do you look at the conversion rate from organic? Do you look at direct can be messy? What what do you think is generally the most important conversion rate metric to look at?
My favorite one is actually, I just look at the one overall for the site to start off with.
Sure.
Because effectively what I want to understand at the beginning is the site doing a reasonable amount of money for what I would expect it to be doing? Like for example, here,
that's the first question: is can these people afford it?
Well, hopefully, if someone's given got the trouble of
by the
giving us
time you have
analytics
access, you should know that. Yeah, right.
I hope the guys have done the job to be able to say, yeah, they probably can.
Right.
But with the same thing with this is that the more money we can make for them, the less we cost as a result. So I think that's the best thing. My day job is helping people to make more money.
Yep.
So that's the nice thing about it. The conversion rate is a really good example, and you see they've got a 3% conversion rate.
Yep.
That's considered to be, that's a pretty good number. That's a pretty good place to be. Mobile can be much lower. I mean, what I do is I like using 3-2-1. So 3% for desktop, 2% for tablet, 1% for mobile.
Okay.
And mobile's actually around 0.75%. But it's growing quite nicely at the moment. And I think as the technologies get better, with one-click checkout, Apple Pay, PayPal are doing some good stuff with it, Amazon's doing good stuff with it. I think that'll get better, and I'm sure it'll get a lot better. But at the moment, it's still they haven't really nailed it. There are ways to make it easier, but it's people still resort to putting in really long forms that makes me really feel sorry for people who are using mobile.
Yep.
But that's the nature of the beast. And believe it or not, you can actually break out the conversion rate if you'd want to. So should we see what Google's conversion rate is on mobile, desktop, and tablet?
Let's take a look.
What do you reckon it is?
Well, it's interesting because you're talking about kind of the standards, and I'm thinking, well, this is a really interesting benchmark because if people wonder, well, am I getting the right organic from my mobile? Is my mobile optimized? So this is going to be a great benchmark. I mean, I was imagining they probably would be higher than 1% because you'd imagine they're doing everything perfect with mobile and organic. So
let's have a look.
Let's say one.
I'm just going to temporarily switch it.
Okay.
1.5 for mobile.
Yeah, let's say 1.5.
Okay, I'm going to go for 0.75 on mobile because I reckon that Google haven't actually nailed it yet. I'm just temporarily turning it off because some of my segments that are showing are for existing customers. So I just want to make sure that it's not something that I can. Yeah, we're okay. We're okay. It's just my crazy ones that I've been doing. So it's just my experimentation account. So we're okay.
You mean you're not going to show us all your client data in this demo?
Rule number 1 of analytics is you do not show data to anyone. That's the thing. If someone puts their trust in you to share their analytics with you, then you don't break that trust in any way. Because the question becomes, as soon as you break that trust, they'll be wondering who you sharing their data with. So rule number 1, and unlike Trump and the FBI, we don't share the confidential data. So I think that's probably the best advice.
It's a wise choice. It's a wise choice.
I think I'd be a lot more scared about the FBI than he is at the moment. But let's not move into politics. Let's talk analytics. That's way more fun.
Yeah, let's steer clear.
If you see things like, so let me show you quickly where I've gone into. So at the top of the bar here is probably one of my favorite things to show customers because it's literally like, wow, that's amazing. I can break out the data based on age group, based on device. I could break it down into women between the age of 25 and 44 on mobile from Georgia in the US if I wanted to.
Yep.
Effectively, it's like a cake, and I could slice the data is like a cake, and I could slice it as much as I want to using segments. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that really easy, and we're going to take mobile and desktop users. I don't think I've actually got desktop in there. So if I click into stars, we can see immediately here there's directs, And oh, I haven't got mobile on this, so I'm just going to type into here and type in mobile. And this is one that Google made for me earlier. So there's mobile, and have we got desktop? Oh, we do. Awesome. So it's desktop. And should we do tablet as well? Just for old time's sake. I know no one uses tablets anymore, but let's stick that in as well. And then I'm going to just remove all users. So we've got mobile, desktop, tablet traffic. And you were saying 1.5. And I'm saying 0.75. I genuinely haven't looked at the data, so I have no idea.
Okay, I was gonna say that's not even a fair fight because
otherwise I would have put money on it, and that would have been a much better idea.
Is that 0.37? Is that what I'm saying?
So let's have a look. And wow, isn't that interesting? Wow. So we've got mobile, desktop, and tablet. So at the moment for the desktop store, it's actually overperforming what I'd say is their market benchmark, especially at that kind of average basket level. They definitely, in fact, they're doing amazing. I'd be saying good job, guys.
Absolutely.
But mobile, I'd be like, oh, what's going on there? That's definitely low, and that would immediately start getting me asked questions. You know, where's the drop off? Where's it failing? What's going on? Why is that not working properly? Do you have any idea? I mean, look at this. They've only made, what, $4,000? Something really not right there. Hey? There's something. Maybe the site's not working on mobile properly. But why don't we dig in and see if we can maybe find out what's causing it.
Okay. You know, it's funny, as I was looking at it on my phone, and I added to cart. It did have a little bit of a funny error message for like pick the size of your shirt. As I was doing an add to cart flow, but yeah, there's got to be something significant going on there.
There's something weird going on there. We should probably investigate. And we've got these awesome new reports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off desktop and I'm going to switch off tablet. And ideally we would look over a bigger period, but we're just messing around at the moment, so it's a little bit of fun. Yeah, so you can see at the moment, so literally a quarter of all visits to their site is from mobile. So there's definitely something. There's something that's not right here for them to make only that amount of money. So what we do is, you see over here, we've got the shopping behavior report.
Yep.
That literally comes out the box with Magento when you use enhanced CRS. And you can see immediately, so I'm looking at just mobile users on the side at the moment. So we're just looking at mobile.
This is awesome.
And we can see there's something going on here. What's going on? So we're getting 19,000 people coming to the site. But of that, only 2,000 users are actually viewing any products.
Yep.
What's going on there? That's really low, isn't it? So what are these people doing on the website if they're not viewing products?
87% dropping off, not even viewing a single product.
Yeah. So my guess there is probably people are looking for something else and are coming onto the store and be like, oh, sorry, this is the wrong place.
Yeah. Or maybe they're just sort of like, oh, Google has a merch store. That's interesting. And then they just look at it, but they're not actually interested in buying anything. They're just curious.
The interesting bit is that if you look at their store at the moment, let's go into it. This is where you can get into the fun stuff, because now we can kind of guess about some potential scenarios that could help them to fix it, because we know that there's a problem if we go across into mobile, but I'll assume it for desktop. Maybe it's that shirt probably isn't the coolest thing that they could be showing on the screen.
Right.
Having one big hero image, not the best thing.
I just noticed something interesting. I'm on my phone. I clicked on the first link, which is that shirt. I bet if you click on it, it'll do the same thing. And then I'm taken to, I guess this is a category page for spring sale, if you click through from that. And then at least on the phone, when I'm on spring sale, the topmost image, the one on the left, the picture of the shirt, if I tap on that, it's not going anywhere. Is that happening for you? If you click on...
Let's try that. I haven't actually tried that.
If you click on that first image, the guy with the shirt, because it looks like that's the product, but you click on it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's interesting. That does definitely look like a button, but all the other ones are very similar, and you don't actually get the hover effect.
Yeah.
On there. So
And it's a little
that's
bit more
definitely
obvious on desktop because you can see the price associated to the other products. On mobile, I see that it looks like a product image. I click on it, and I remember getting confused by that when I was kind of testing it. So maybe we just found out maybe they should pay us a lot of money for that. We
we can send them the bill. We know how much money they're making. They're making enough in desktop stuff.
They can afford us. I think they can afford
hey
us.
guys, or just send us some of this kit over, and we can we can do that. I'll be very happy with the Google. Actually, no, Google Pen's a bit broke. $27 for a Google Pen. Wow. Okay. But immediately there, you've identified something which might be a usability thing. You know, people are getting in there, they're getting confused, or actually, maybe that's not the most inspiring picture. About what Google products are about. You know, Google products are like cutting edge, beautiful. You know, maybe there's something better they could try out. Maybe they can A/B test lots of different things, and actually, why don't they make some of that stuff clickable?
Totally.
You know, just from the sake of looking at one report and digging deep down, we've noticed there's something that's not right. And we've already got a couple of things that they can probably try. And you know, how hard is it to set up A/B testing nowadays? It's, you know, there's tools like Google Optimize, Google Experiments. Both of these come built into Magento that you effectively can do it immediately, and they could probably make a bit more money.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the rest of the stuff here, you can see, oh, there's people. So once you get people into viewing products, then actually it kind of then works quite nicely. You can see you get quite a good proportion. Still not the best. You could probably do a bit better getting people to add to basket. And then we can go into the checkout. And the checkout is also not the best. There's probably some work they can do around there. But definitely I would be probably working this place over here to find out what's going on. Because that looks like a big problem for it.
Now, what are the numbers you like to see on the sort of conversion rate from one step to? I'm sure it varies a lot by industry and everything else, but for people that are wondering, like, what are the numbers just generally that you like to see on those?
For this sort of stuff, the best advice that I could give you is don't look at benchmarks from industries, because it changes so much. If you're worried about benchmarks, get someone in has got available access to lots of different sites and can be able to give you something with a bit more context, because it can vary so drastically that you could be like, well, there's something. If you don't have access to someone who does analytics, or you don't have access to other parties' data, the best thing you could do is to say, what did we do last week? What did we do last month? What did we do over the last year? And just set yourself, you know, what's my previous benchmark that we hit? Okay, last month we hit 4%. Let's do a bit more work around the add to basket. Can we get it higher? Oh, great, amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You use your own records as ways to beat it.
It's unique. Yeah. So then, in that case, like what made you feel that there's some issues that they could improve here? Is that based on what you know about other merch stores? Are they just low across the boards?
The checkout completion rate, which is basically people who start checkout and then complete.
Yeah.
That just looks really low, because remember, these are people here who are. I've started the checkout process. You have to be really bad to make me stop doing the checkout, and to drop that down to that sort of degree over a monthly period it just seems very, very high.
So it's sessions with checkout is 1.3%
of the overall. I think it's overall sessions in total.
Of total sessions.
But you can see that. I mean, 71 out of 264 people. Some people would be happy with that. I need some work to do around the checkout, or it could be around delivery. You know, maybe their delivery opportunities aren't right. Maybe they haven't got the right delivery mechanisms. Maybe they don't have the right stock. Maybe what some customers do is they actually leave it to this point to say, hey, sorry, we're out of stock. And that obviously is awful. That's a really bad experience, because it's taken a lot of people, a lot of work to get around here. So for them to drop out at this point, you know, there's something that's not working.
Totally. Oh, this is.
It's a cool report, and the nice thing about it is as well is that I don't know if you saw these little things at the bottom.
Yep.
So do you remember those segments that I showed over here, where I created some segments? You can actually use the buttons over here to create segments. So I'm interested in people who completed add to basket but then didn't check out. Well, actually, let's go after the guys who started checkout, but then didn't complete. So if I click on that, we can see here, I've now got a new e-commerce segment called Checkout Abandonment. And I'm just going to call this, why did you go? And immediately we can see the entire website based on these guys.
Really?
So we can see where they came from. Was it a campaign that we said you get X amount free and you didn't get it? They seem to be coming from all over the place. I can see what did they do on the website. And it immediately opens up an entire new place that you can start investigating to work out what's going on that we really scared these people away that much.
That's super interesting. If they're all in one country, you go, oh, maybe we've got a shipping issue in this country or payment method issue. Yeah.
Let's have a look where they're from. Let's go. Should we check what language they were speaking? Maybe they didn't understand the checkout. Maybe they thought it was something else. No, mainly US guys. So let's have a look. Locations. You can see some German, Spanish, French. Yeah, so pretty much India, quite a high number. United States, quite a high number. So again, it just opens up new ways to do it. I personally never get into this level of detail because I find that that's something that sits really well within the data teams, within the businesses.
Okay.
And it's up to them to be able to do it. The bit that I kind of help them with is kind of focusing on where they should be looking at for their next big wins. And that's really what you do. You don't want to spend too long micromanaging things.
Right.
You want to spend time focusing on things that will make the biggest difference to the business.
Right.
I think, let me just bring up the, believe it or not, the checkout report is also, so how many steps checkout has Google got? They've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm pretty sure that that's all one page. So with the new enhanced e-commerce, you can break out your checkout into as many steps as you want to. I think it's like up to like 7 or 8, or I don't know, I can't remember the number, but it's quite a high number.
Right.
So you no longer have to worry about steps, or you could have a step for a form field, or you could have a step for an entire section. And immediately you can see where things are happening. Should we have a look for mobile to see what's going on with mobile for that page?
Yeah, good call.
Maybe we can get to the bottom and help Google get their money sorted. This is one of the few reports that you can't yet do the comparison, unfortunately, so you have to kind of just drag it.
Okay.
And we can see that. But yeah, so billing and shipping seems to be okay. It looks like it's around payment that people start going, something going on between there.
About half dropping off, 51% dropping off from billing, shipping to payment.
There's definitely, I think maybe it's a messaging, maybe the forms aren't very good, maybe they're too complex. I don't know, maybe they keep asking for state when they can work out the state based on their postcode. I don't know, who knows? That's one of the things that just really, like,
maybe there's an extra fee that pops up, or
something. Maybe they're looking for a discount code and they're not getting discount codes, but discount code's not working. There's so many things that immediately say, well, what's going on there? And we can go in and dig in and work out what's going on there. Do you see also, this is the other nice one, but you see there's a little drop down here. I don't know if you can see it, it's really subtle.
Yeah.
Everyone misses it, even the analytics people, which is brilliant. Right. So I showed them, they're like, what?
Right.
Obviously, there's multiple ways to go from billing and shipping to payment. You could be using free shipping. You could be, using a different billing address. You could try to use click and collect, collect from store. There's loads of different ways to get there. Right. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could find out between the various things what billing option got people there in the highest degree?
Something tells me, something tells me you're going to help me out with that.
Well, possibly if Google had actually, they've implemented it now. They hadn't implemented it up to about a few months ago, which is awesome. Actually, no, they haven't implemented it because they've just said billing and shipping, which tells me absolutely nothing. That's an absolute waste of a JavaScript snippet. That's actually criminal.
Wow.
But you could say, payment, do they have, this is how many people chose payment. So at least they put in stuff there now. Before it just said not defined. Essentially, you could say, did PayPal work better at getting people across? Did Amazon? Did Visa?
Right.
What helped people get to the next curve as quickly as possible?
That's really cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's really, man. It's interesting. You know, I'm curious to know how many people are really diving into this. And you know, we have a few minutes left. If there's maybe one last thing you want to touch on, I'm sure we're only like scratching the surface with everything that you'd like to show. But
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll show you one more. Which, remember, I said to you that the goal is you want to measure the business, not the website.
right.
Um, How cool would it be if you could find out, and I know that Google definitely hasn't implemented this because they probably don't want to tell how many people are returning their t-shirts or that pen when they realize they're paying $25 for that pen. But anyway, if you go into product performance, we can see what the most popular product is for Google at the moment.
Okay.
And we can see based on mobile, and we can see actually people like the stainless steel bottle. And then if you look all the way over here, this is the most awesome column. It says product refund amount.
Refund amount.
So
nice.
you can essentially put in all the products that are returned straight away and then have that show up there. So not only do you get how much money you're selling from different products, you can also see what's being returned. With one customer, we found out probably one of my favorite, I keep saying favorite because I really enjoy finding this information. They basically found out that customers were returning one particular color product all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know why.
Right.
So we put it into here, and we suddenly realized that actually it wasn't being returned that much in comparison to how much it was being sold. But there was another product that was actually being sold a lot less, but actually had an even higher return rate.
Return rate. Wow.
And they were like, how come we didn't see this? And when we investigated it, the color that they were using Image Magic to resize their images. Right. So it was stripping out the color. So the color that people were getting.
Got it. Yeah, it was a mismatch.
Was different from the actual product and the thing. So it was a really easy fix. Yeah. We optimized the image and kept the colors. We kept the color profile in. And you know, you can do some really cool stuff with image optimization now, so that you can still have it quite low. So you have the size quite low. And at the end of that process, they had a much closer quality. And guess what? The returns like dropped by like 3/4. Nice. We had literally saved them a huge amount of money just from resizing images better.
Right. Right. I
mean, it's like, how else could you have something that is so simple just from using a tool that comes out the box?
Yeah, that's super neat. Well, that's awesome. I mean, we're going to have to do a part 2 of this because that was a lot of fun. And what percentage would you say we scratched as far as what you'd really be able to dig into? 5%, 10%? I'm sure there's how many?
There's way more stuff that we could go into.
So we'll have to do a part 2 follow-up.
The best bit around it is that it's nice to see it in general, and I'll send the link out to the Google merchandise store so that other people can test it out as well. But the interesting bit is actually looking at your own numbers and then diving in like that and asking, well, what does that mean? You know, that just one exercise we did in the space of what, 5 minutes?
Right.
Probably could have made Google, you know, X number of $1,000.
Right. Right.
So, you know, what else could...
We're going to send them a hefty bill.
If you can make Google that amount of money in a 5-minute exercise, you know, how much, if people who know their own data, who look at it all the time, if they start looking at their own data, how much more money could they make in that short amount of time?
Yeah.
You know, what would be the most important thing for them to focus on?
Right. What would you say, and I'm sure it varies, but what would you say in terms of like, you're looking at the amount of revenue that you're making, what would you say is that maybe the revenue level of a merchant where it really makes sense to hire somebody like you or somebody that really knows what they're doing? What's that level where, you know, there's a lot that, you know, they could get some significant gains by digging into this stuff?
I think that's actually a really hard question. I mean, there's small businesses that have actually got bigger data teams than bigger businesses because they want to grow much faster and they need to grow much faster.
Sure.
The one thing that I'd say is that, you know, pretty much anyone could get a value from getting analytics in and being able to at least understand their data.
Absolutely.
You know, that's like a day's worth of work. You know, start the journey. The sort of the sort of sweet spot is, I find if they've got a team where they've got 2 or 3 people who are managing the site kind of full time,
Yeah.
then one of those people is going to be should at least have some data skills, or should be serviced by people who have data skills, because they can then focus on iterating the product and getting that right, and then using the data and leveraging the data to do their job better and easier and quicker.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Grant. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. We'll do a follow-up and get in even deeper. But how can people find you online?
Feel free, just tweet me on, I'm UK Android, that's UK Android, ANDROID. Otherwise, if they want, actually I've got my email, they can always just email me at grant@connectedwindow.com.
Perfect.
Which is my blog.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And thanks everybody for listening. If you have any questions, definitely hit me or Grant up. Would love to hear from you. And we will see you soon.